one, Marissa Janning, as we mentioned in the open, Sarah Nelson, who had a great performance in her game in the quarterfinals, and Elisa Camphouse. And for the Red Storm, it's Brown, Hanford, McPherson, Grant, and Amber Thompson. Jim Flannery in his 12th season as head coach, 22nd overall at his alma mater, done a fantastic job with the Blue Jays in their first season coach position. Our referees and officials for today, Dennis DeMayo, Mae Forsberg, and Angie Lewis. We're underway here at the All-State Arena. Big bright lights, the new home for the Big East tournament. Creighton coming off a win against Butler in the quarterfinals on yesterday. And the left hand up and in by Mackenzie Fouillon. Coming right back the other way is Denasia Grant. Grant getting a start. She's wanted to do that all season long. Tartamella says, well, I think you've earned that opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's important at this time of the year to switch things up and keep teams guessing and off balance. And I think that's a great thing to shake up things for St. John.
A lot of attention will be played to Marissa Janning, as we mentioned, the Big East Player of the Year. Sarah Nelson also doing a fantastic job from way out. Fouillon is off. Jensen comes down with the rebound. And between Fouillon, Janning, and Nelson, they pack a powerful punch for these Blue Jays.
And already you see the second chance opportunities for Creighton getting to the offensive boards. They'll need some extra possessions.
Jensen not known for her three-point prowess, but Nelson isn't afraid to put it up, pops in and out.
At every position for Creighton, you need to be there on the catch. They make good decisions and they shoot the ball very well.
And Denasia Grant drawing the foul on Sarah Nelson. And for the keys to the game, what's it going to take for Jim Flannery's team to come out of here with the W?
Well, for Creighton, they've got to get on the boards. Amber Thompson has hurt them throughout this series, some with her rebounding and her ability to really crash the glass. And then they have to have three players in double figures. They need the scoring. And for St. John's, they must defend a three.
And Marquette will be your next semifinal game. You want to keep your eye on that matchup next as well.
Very big games here for these teams. And you can see the teams that were hot towards the end of the season are bringing some momentum in here to Chicago.
And for this Red Storm team, you know, they won 11 straight. That was a Big East, you know, record for them. And then they dropped 4 of their last 5.
It really was a stretch that challenged Joe Tartamella. You know, I think what happened towards the end of Big East is that teams know what you like to do, and they're better at taking it away.
They couldn't take away Brianna Rollerson. She gets her first 2 points of the ball game.
And that's going to be important that she makes Amber Thompson defend her. You've got to make Thompson work on both ends of the floor.
Lewis in the game for the Red Storm. Will likely see a lot of time at the point guard position. And for St. John's, I mean, LaChana, you just mentioned this and how tough it's been for them. They got off to a great start, but in those last 6 games, they've just kind of fallen off.
Yeah, they struggled a bit. And one of the things that really fell off for them was their defense of the three-point line. And that's something that today they have to be extra sharp with.
Leah Lewis way off with that shot, something that she's been working on in the last month to improve her mid-range game.
St. John's staying in the shorts have been part of the growth of this game at so many levels, from international play, WNBA, and so on. And you have been a part of the growth in the beginning of this new Big East. What was your vision on the women's basketball side coming in?
Well, you know, we're a basketball conference at core. You know, we don't have football like other major conferences do, but we have basketball and care about it deeply. And the vision is not just to have great men's basketball, but great women's basketball as well. So for me, this is a great experience to be part of that. And hopefully in the next year, 2, 3, however long it takes, we're going to build up the powerhouses and make women's basketball here a force.
Val, there have been some critics out there who said, you know, this is not as strong of a conference, or there's not enough parity. From what you've seen so far this season, how would you assess the level of competition?
Well, I think it's very fierce. You know, we've got, two very good teams here today, both looking at potential NCAA tournament bids. We're going to have a great second game, of course, with Marquette, which beat Villanova yesterday, and, of course, DePaul, which has had a great women's basketball tradition for a long time. So, in my mind, it's a very strong league. Is it like the old league? No. I mean, you take away UConn and Notre Dame and Louisville and Rutgers and some other great schools, it's going to be different. But we're proud of our women and the kind of game they play. And, as I said, I think the future is very bright.
And what's the pitch that you would give for, more teams from the Big East to, enter into that NCAA tournament?
Well, I mean, at some point, record speaks for itself. And we've got...
when the calendar hit March 1st, I just started to get so excited because this is where teams can make your mark. Regardless of how things have gone for you up to that point, you got a chance to get to the big dance. If you can get hot for a few days and make some big plays like that one.
A great pass and cut. Brianna Brown on the scoring end. That's an 8-0 run now for St. John's.
And what's happened in the last few minutes, neither one of these teams have really been able to score the basketball. These are two outstanding coaches, and they've scouted each other well. This is your third time seeing each other this season, and they know each other's plays and their tendencies, and they're taking it away. So you need some X factors to be able to score right now. And this is just a good backdoor cut. You saw both defenders ball watching. You got to open up, see the floor, know where players are cutting.
You mentioned just a tough time that these two teams have had scoring. More specifically, Creighton, the first 5.5 minutes, they had 5 field goals, no turnovers. Here in the last 7 minutes or more, no field goals and 7 turnovers. Sarah Nelson changing all of that right now with that jumper. So the 15-footer goes, and Sarah Nelson collects her first 2.
When you see how the defense was flattened out and Creighton made St. John's work and move and shift the D, and that's where they found an open of energy, but they haven't turned it into offense, and that's going to be a key in this game. You have to contain Creighton and their scoring ability, absolutely, but if you're St. John's, 13 points with 3.5 minutes left to go in the first half, it's going to be difficult to win a game like that.
St. John's had a strong shooting performance in the quarterfinals against Seton Hall, shooting now just 29% so far in this first half. Fouillon making noise once again. 6 points now for Mackenzie Fouillon.
And that's just an outstanding move. Strong, taking it to the rim. Nice angle.
And the senior always seems to shine bright and on the biggest of stages for Jim Flannery and this ball club.
Points in the paint is something we're used to focusing on with St. John's. It's been Creighton that's made the cuts, made the defense play, gotten easy baskets at the rim.
An offensive rebound, keeping possessions alive for the Blue Jays. An area where, again, you mentioned the size of St. John's would come into play.
Well, St. John's is not boxing out. They're not playing a zone. I can see if they were playing a zone, they may have some difficulty rebounding, but it's just about staying with your assignments.
Out of Watertown, Minnesota.
And Janning has had to handle a lot of the ball handling responsibilities. Sammy Jensen with 2 fouls. And also, Sarah Nelson has been playing with 2 personal fouls.
So a slight differential in the game clock and shot clock. Sarah Nelson hitting it from the suburbs.
What has she not done in the last few minutes of this game?
Off the backboard, Aaliyah Lewis, yes! Oh my, so what type of momentum will that give the Red Storm going into the locker room? 25-22 if that shot stands.
I like her off the ball. I just think then she doesn't have to worry about facilitating and she can worry about shooting.
Well, second consecutive game she's had tough times in the first half. Butler held her scoreless, but then she came along and scored her first bucket midway through the second half. finished with 10. Amber Thompson. And do you expect to see more of that because she is so athletic and has a great ability around the rim? You mentioned she had a soft touch. Will we see more of that in the second half?
Yeah, Amber Thompson getting involved in this game is more about the guards.
They've already forced 11 today.
And Creighton is a team that's known to take care of the basketball on the opposite end of that. So points off turnovers could become an issue. St. John's has 10, and that's a lot of points considering the fact they only have 34 in the game.
McGrory, the pull-up from the free throw line, bounces in.
How about the bench play for Creighton? They have gotten points off the pine.
12 points already for the Blue Jays, just 5. Needing more production from the Red Storm. Denasia Grant, who came off the bench for most of the season, getting the start. And she was a big factor off the bench, averaging in double figures. Alexis Akinatico picking up the personal foul. Langley out, Brown back in for Joe Tartamella's crew. Grant flashing, double team. Lewis waiting for it. Again, not so comfortable with the outside shot. She goes into the bucket. And McGrory standing right there. Offensive foul by Lewis.
The teams are going to play off of Aaliyah Lewis because scoring is not really her prowess. I mean, she is looking to be involved in the game. But as Joe Tartamella said, she's going to have to set other people up to score. And good call by Creighton as they get her in an uncomfortable situation.
Glory driving baseline. Yet another turnover.
Lewis gets it back. Aaliyah Lewis is in for a little get back here, as she was called for the foul on the other end and comes down and gets it back with a great defensive play.
Standing at just 5'5", but she is so disruptive on the defensive end. She's cat-like quick.
She's so low to the ground with her stance, and she's gotten some valuable minutes at the point guard position. Eugenia McPherson did not come back until close to the end of the regular season. So this is a young woman whose future is very bright, but definitely has to work on figuring out where her comfort zone is on offense.
McPherson has only taken 3 shots, still held scoreless in today's ball game.
I should say McPherson was reunited with the team towards the end of non-conference season.
And Brianna Rollerson gives Creighton a 2-point lead here with just over 13 and a half to go.
Well, St. John's didn't give up a ton of transition points in the first half, but their transition defense failed, and we saw it on the three-point shot earlier. So they've got to clean it up and make sure they are sprinting to get back.
Hanford loses the handle.
You've got to get what you can on the offensive end, and look at the extra effort and the lack of communication defensively by St. John's. Brianna Rollerson just looks to get to the rim and uses that size. And she finished off the season strong with 13 points and 10 rebounds versus Butler. Finished off things down the stretch, so they're looking for more contributions from her.
And Janning is going to run over to the bench on that last play. It appears she has a cut underneath her right eye. You can see it there. So she will get attention from the trainer.
I think Hanford got her on the way up right there. Can't see it from that angle, but I think she got her with the elbow.
Janning was called for her first personal foul. So Janning will have to take a seat while she gets the cut under her eye. Tended to Sammy Jensen checking back in.
Yeah. Ooh, and it might have been on the way down.
When you talk about the physicality of this game and possibly more physical than Janning, you know, maybe used to or whatever the case, she's still standing in tough. She's also played 26 of 27 minutes so far in this game.
And look at her numbers, just outstanding. This is consistency in terms of scoring the ball when you can not only hit from the field, but also the free throw line. We know how deadly her three-point shot is, but I've just been impressed by her rebounding. She doesn't have great size. She's tried to put on a little muscle, which you look at her, she's slight in size, but she is averaging 5 rebounds a game. That's just, I like that. Toughness.
And she also likes to play against Big East opponents, registering just over 19 points a game against conference foes.
Sarah Nelson has been rather quiet in her last few minutes on offense.
The All-Big East second team selection misses on the three-point attempt there.
Creighton's got to be careful not to get lured into the early shot clock.
Pearson unload to Thompson. McPherson with a slight hesitation step. And she'll take her first trip to the line.
And that's really all it takes for Eugenia McPherson. She's been doing this since day one at St. John's. Getting to the rim, she's got an outside shot. She has offense. And I know it's tough mentally recovering from an injury to get comfortable and feel like you can do the things you used to. She's playing at point guard, so she's out of position. She's facing a lot.
All-academic performer in Catherine Pluth as well. We see 2 in today's game in this semifinal, and then later this evening, we've got 3 more in that DePaul versus Marquette matchup.
One thing about Aaliyah Hanford's buckets is that Creighton has made her pay. I mean, she has had to work for everything she has gotten. And credit that to Marissa Janning, who may not have a lot of points, but she's had to defend Hanford.
And Brianna Brown nails it for 3.
I mean, we could get up and do a jumping jack right now because I've been waiting for St. John's to look at the three-point shot. And I don't think it's really been taken away from them. They haven't been aggressive. And I understand wanting to get high percentage looks in the paint, but you need to open up the floor with the outside shot.
And is that something that Creighton has given them as Sarah Nelson coming alive here in the second half?
Nothing new that Nelson is going to work. And on the two-man game, there's a switch. So there's a mismatch on the interior, and that's where Nelson is able to take advantage of it with a guard on her in the post.
And she'll have to go over and thank Marissa Janning for her 5th assist for that one. She's got 14 points. And the Blue Jays have a 3-point lead. Neither team has led by more than 3 in the second half.
They're very close. And a matchup I think that's really going to decide things down the stretch is Sarah Nelson and Denasia Grant. Who gets the best of that one-on-one action?
Hanford, the pull-up from the elbow. Janning grabbing the board. You know, one thing about a shooter, if you don't make it, you just keep on shooting. And that's the thing that Coach Jim Flannery loves about Marissa Janning, is that she will keep shooting no matter what.
Well, she's got to draw the defense. They're going to respect it, so they're going to go running out at her, and it will leave her teammates open.
Off the mark there once again. But she's also been a factor all over the floor, just like Hanford has. And we saw this a lot in their game against DePaul, not being able to finish around the rim.
Just rushing the shot. With that kind of explosiveness in the open floor, you have to be able to bring it down to finish, because it takes a lot of focus to finish at the rim when you're going that fast. I mean, Aaliyah Hanford could make that in her sleep. But she's got her teammate, Denasia Grant, that's got her back. Struggles from the free throw line.
Grant still with 9 points and 6 boards. Bouillon, who's been quiet. Traveling violation called on Janning. Well, despite Janning's woes on offense in terms of not putting up a lot of points, you mentioned how she's getting so involved in other ways. 5 rebounds, 5 assists, in just over 28 minutes, and only 1 field goal.
And that's what you have to do. Shots not always going to go in. See, there's contact there that I just think has to be called. Right here, you're only supposed to get a measure-up touch as the defender, and I just feel like there is too much contact on the ball handler on the drives.
So with the enforced rules more so, the refs were calling that all throughout the season. Has something changed here in the conference play tournament?
Well, it just depends on the angles, you know, what the officials can see as far as contact with McCrory. Oh, yeah. She is having a great tournament. The freshman.
It makes you go, hello. The freshman out of Edina, Minnesota.
She has done the little things for Creighton.
One pops in and out for Lewis. Lewis trying to cut down Creighton's 6-point lead, their largest of the second half.
McCrory benefiting from the defense collapsing on Nelson. She has been such a big point of emphasis for the St. John's defenses that they go and take away Nelson. The freshman was open from outside.
5 points for the freshman. In McCrory and Aaliyah Lewis at the line. Another one in her first season. And Lewis also with 5 points. And so what's really sparked this Creighton team, somewhat like it did in the first half, is bench play. Outscoring the Red Storm 12-3 in this half.
Creighton in their pass and cut offense. You're right, Tiffany. The bench has had to come in and contribute.
And a nasty spill underneath the basket. Both Thompson and Ncaa are okay. Thompson running up the floor a little slowly.
Yeah, there's some contact that's the officials are letting them play.
Over to Lewis. Lewis launches it for 3.
But she's looking at it. I like that.
Ncaa from the top of the key, not known for shooting threes, so it's just a long 2 as it's counted. 7-point lead for the Blue Jays.
But it's beautiful. And she had just taken a spill on the other end, showing her toughness and focus to come back and line up the long-range shot.
So the junior forward out of Bellevue West High School.
Johns has done a good job of locking up the starters and the known names for Creighton, but when you're getting contributions from your bench, players that just get hot at the right time and find their opportunities, that can be hard to stop because you haven't seen as much of what they can do.
Grant finding Lewis again. Lewis, rise and fire, pops out. Janning lets it fly. No good. Here comes Grant.
Good transition defense by Creighton. St. John's did not have the numbers.
Red Storm, normally a 33% three-point shooting team. Only made 2 trays here today. And their woes have continued at their free throw line. But it's Denasia Grant. She's got 11.
Good take by Grant. And when the help side is smaller, that's to Denasia Grant's benefit because she can elevate over a smaller defender. And so if help comes over, they're not tall and long arms. She can't see you.
So some contact between Fuyan and Thompson. And since both teams are in the bonus.
18%, and that was successful for them. That really helped them to get victory.
And what may very well help the Blue Jays to victory is, again, we mentioned their bench play, 3 of 4 from downtown. Coming off the pine, it's been McGrory and Garrison, Ncaa, and Rollerson have all contributed.
Boy, Creighton challenges your defense with their pass and cut offense. They're just constantly moving. You've got to know screens and players.
One of the Red Storm defenders got a hand on that one.
I believe it was Kelantra Langley.
And an easy bucket for Jade Walker.
You know, Jade Walker has a ton of potential. She's got to look to be aggressive. She's fantastic in practice and shoot around, but in game, she shrinks. I like that move inside, taking it right to Sarah Nelson.
And Janning almost went in, but instead she's called for the charge. So her 3rd personal foul on Janning.
Everything was going well as the 2-man game was establishing itself, but there you saw the defense, and then Jade Walker. Again, she can be an X factor for St. John's. We've seen the bench for Creighton come alive, and she's a player that's got a nice size body, but she actually has some guard skill and some quickness.
The trouble for her this season has been committing so many fouls.
Yes. Hey, I understand how it is in the post. We get called for everything down low.
They don't show you any love down there?
Oh.
When you play back at Wake Forest?
Man.
Were they ticky-tack fouls? Did that ever kind of bother you or disrupt your flow?
I used to believe the officials just watched the big girls down low. They didn't watch the guards.
A lot of contact there. Nelson falling to the floor. No whistle. Red Storm coming back the other way. Good ball movement. Grant thought about it instead, taking it all the way in. Contact.
It's been a physical game. Not for the weak at heart at all, Tiffany.
These two teams have the stamina as they are looking at a shot to make it to the Big East Championship game, which will be right here tomorrow on Fox Sports 1. Tip-off it.
Establishing that attack mentality. St. John's is always best when they are attacking, but being smart, not charging into the defense, but just being aggressive at the rim.
McGrory, offensive-minded. The pull-up 15-footer is good.
McGrory was limited early on in the season with a concussion, and for most of Big East play, she wasn't able to find a rhythm, but we see a player that's really starting to get a spark here.
She's come along as of late. We mentioned earlier in the broadcast, 12 points, a career high yesterday against Butler.
She's just tough. I love the way that she's not afraid to get physical, to mix it up. She's been effective on a very big stage here in the semifinals of the Big East Women's Tournament.
Ncaa launches it. Nelson with the offensive grab.
There have been some mismatches with Denasia Grant and Sarah Nelson. Grant wasn't able to score on the inside because of Nelson, and Nelson is finding herself with a guard on her defensively when the switch happens on a pick and roll.
Going inside and rejected and denied by Hanford. So Janning had that one swatted away. You mentioned about points in the paint for St. John's. Of their 18 field goals, 14 of those points have come in the paint.
And I think more of them would have been scored there if they'd looked to shoot the three more. Wide open at the rim is Hanford.
And you saw the nice left-hand finish and touch by the sophomore.
Again, Tiffany, that might sound crazy because St. John's has scored so many points from the paint, but if they had taken, they take more outside shots, I think they'll get more looks inside.
Foul on the floor, and Hanford really getting it done on both ends.
Well, this is a sensational block on Marissa Janning, and then the sophomore sensation at the... And you know soon a winner and a loser will be decided, which will happen in the next minute and 40 seconds. Hanford has started to look to take her game to the next level.
15 points for the sophomore and an opportunity for the Red Storm to take the lead. The dish over, and she's called for the offensive foul.
And that's where attack mode can work against you. When you just make up your mind that that's the only play you can make. That was drawn up for Hanford to drive baseline, but when she sees the defense coming, you have to be able to make the right decisions.
And to give these players credit, it's such a split-second decision.
It is. It's very tough. Switch, Sarah Nelson with a guard on her inside.
Well, Janning is now 1 of 10 from the field. She hasn't hit one from the floor in this second half.
Rebounding is becoming a huge factor because every possession here is going to count down the stretch.
So Denasia Grant at the line, who has had a really tough afternoon. 1 of 7 from the charity stripe. 9 of 19 as a team. And another miss. She's missed her last 7. And the Red Storm came into this game a 64% free throw shooting team, and it's really hurt them this afternoon.
It's got to be mental. Denasia Grant got a nice shot from right there. Just can't hit him at the free throw line.
St. John's ties it up. Coming off a 9-2 run. It's tied at 50 all with just over a minute to go.
Don't you love Jim Flannery's energy? He grabs that clipboard and he goes to work. John's is switching on screens.
Creighton definitely needing this game. Going down the stretch, under a minute to go. Both teams in the double bonus. 2 timeouts remaining for each. And Janning and 1. What a big shot by the Big East Player of the Year. Her first field goal of the second half.
Well, not everything has gone Marissa Janning's way today, but here is just a toughness check for the sophomore against the sophomore, Aaliyah Hanford. Trying to see if she got an extra step there.
It almost looked like she did, and I think the Red Storm bench may have seen that, and they were yelling and jumping up and down, but it's the Blue Jays who are energized, up by 3. So this is what Big East basketball has been like all season on Fox Sports 1 as the new look Big East. And how about the big look in by Brianna Brown?
Joe Tardamella tried to call a foul and tried to call a timeout, but I thought there might have been contact on the drive. I don't know how Brianna Brown ended up on the ground there. She hit it pretty hard.
She did. So about 5 seconds between the shot clock and the game clock. And Jim Flannery takes a full timeout. So the Blue Jays have 1 remaining. St. John's with 2.
Brianna Brown driving in. St. John's elects to foul.
So they will send Sarah Nelson to the free throw line, a 60% free throw shooter. And a perfect 5 for 5 from the line today. And she wills that one in.
Yeah, she did a little bunny hop on the end of that.
Big free throw coming up here for the senior forward. That one pops in and out. 11 to go. Grant with the ball in her hands, and Tartamella decides to take a timeout. So one remaining for each team. 8.2 seconds to go. And this has been close all.
Taking them.
So Langley, one of the seniors on this team, one of 3, takes it all the way in. And yes, we've got a tie ball game. 2.7 to go. Deflected. Last touch by Aaliyah Hanford.
They may go look to check to see who this is off of. And what a move by Keelantra Langley.
This season, Hanford, Janning among them. Janning to put it up. And a traveling violation is called. That's the end of regulation. We're tied at 54 and going to overtime.
The play was for Marissa Janning. Good job by St. John.
And the Red Storm control the temp. And for the Blue Jays, you have to pay attention to the fact that Mackenzie Fuyan is the only player with 4 fouls. They try to attack the senior. Grant trying to attack the interior defense of the Blue Jays and is denied.
Denasia Grant has to use her advantage. When she's matched up against the post that's bigger than her, she's got to take them to the outside and use her guard skill.
Janning, the step back.
Marissa Janning is just out of rhythm.
She is 2 of 12 from the floor. And Hanford going up against Ncaa Tico, and a really good acting job also by Hanford. Definitely some contact there. Also a little extra.
Ncaa Tico has to fall out there. I mean, I thought she got there and established her defensive position, but if Hanford's going to sell it, you've got to sell it.
And free throws have been the Achilles heel of the Red Storm all game long. Hanford misses both. Thompson grabs the board and is called for the traveling violation.
This game would be over. 10 for 22 from the free throw line. St. John's is shooting 46%. 10 for 23 now, for 44%.
Down to Nelson. Nelson working the smaller Brown. Brown stayed right in there. Good defensive position. Nelson couldn't finish that one.
That is the matchup that's been deciding this game. I mean, where is Sarah Nelson? Who is she defending? But also, who does she have a chance to score on based on switches and picks and mismatches?
Nelson grabbing yet another board. 9 for her. To go along with 15 points. And MC McGrory along with Mackenzie Fuyan have been contributors this afternoon. McGrory with 7. So far in overtime, we haven't put up any points. Both teams held scoreless in the first 2 minutes. It continues, I guess. That's just a sign of great defense by both teams, right?
Yes, both teams have been locking up. There's been stretches in this game where that's happened, where neither team has been able to score. Some has been sloppy play, but also just a good job of scouting and taking away the other team's advantages.
And almost a lob pass from Langley into Hanford, and she'll go back to the line.
We were saying at the very beginning of the broadcast that Creighton would need to get 3 players in double figures. Well, Janning just recently got there. She's got 10 on a night where she hasn't shot well. Nelson's got 15. Other than that, it's been pretty balanced, and the same for St. John's. It's Amber Thompson has got to become a factor. 2 for 3 from the field, 7 rebounds, but she's got to have more than 6 points for Red Storm.
And again, just to piggyback off of what you just said, LaChina, it's free throws. Again, that's really hurting St. John's. They've missed 6 of their last 7.
And they're so good at getting to the line. That is what makes their offenses, their blow-by ability, their athleticism. But it doesn't add up to much if you can't get to the free throw line and make the other team pay for putting their hands on you.
Nelson, good ball movement. Fouillon, just short for 3.
Rory goes down hard. Doesn't get a call there. But gosh, she's tough. She bounces right back up, and I think she was hurt there for a sec, but she's not going to tell anyone. She wants to stay in the game. Right here, looks to go up, and it looks like she got tripped. Normally a trip is a foul call. I don't know if she got tied up with the defender's foot or was it her own foot.
If you can believe this, LaChina, we've gone more than 3 minutes without a bucket, and then you talk it up right off the backboard for Grant.
And see, that time she faced up. She didn't try to go down in the post and shoot over the taller Sarah Nelson.
And deflected by Hanford. So offense and defense stepping up as Creighton is 0 of 5 in this extra period. And just a miscommunication there, and over and back, a backcourt violation.
Denasia Grant has an advantage because she plays in the post, but she's got guard skill. And that can go either way, because to me, she's a guard but has post skill. But when she's faced with an opponent that's taller than her, she can shoot over them, but don't go down there amongst the trees. She's had her shot blocked quite a few times.
Absolutely, but not afraid. She transferred in from Clemson.
And she's made all the difference on this team, giving them a viable scoring option.
Timeout taken by Creighton. So it's St. John's holding on to a 2-point lead, 56-54. Over a minute to go here in the overtime session. In this first of 2 semifinal games here from the Big East tournament, the All-State Arena in Rosemont, Illinois. Sarah Nelson for 3! What a huge shot by Sarah Nelson! So the Blue Jays take the lead on that shot, 57-56. And it's their first bucket in the overtime period. Hanford denied by Ncaa.
Huge defensive play.
But remember, it was Creighton who was going in with the momentum at the end of regulation.
What a screen there as Creighton is running through their offense, and Ncaa takes out Amber Thompson just enough and then comes to the other end and makes the big defensive play. A huge stretch for her. And Joe Tartamella was looking very confused as to why his team was fouled there.
In and out for Channing.
And that is just major because Leah Hanford had gotten by Marissa Janning, and Ncaa was there to contest.
That one bounces in. 20 seconds and counting. And timeout taken by Joe Tartamella. 18.9 seconds could decide which team will go to by both teams. No timeouts for St. John's. And they've got time, looking for the best opportunity. Brown over to Grant. Grant splits the defenders in, and she'll go to the line. So she draws the foul. And this is where you're either going to make it or break it.
And you can see Gina McPherson telling Denasia Grant to bend those legs. Nice take, and yeah, I would agree that McGrory did not get there and establish legal defensive position in time. And this is, Denasia Grant looked right at her coach when she realized she was going to the free throw line.
2 of 9 from the charity stripe. The good news is she made her last attempt.
Hey.
So she can possibly continue on with that trend.
She doesn't look nervous, but she never looks nervous.
Calm, cool, collected. Oh my, the freshman Aaliyah Lewis can't watch. Maybe she's splitting the fingers just to catch a quick glimpse. And that one falls for Grant. And Lewis still not wanting to look. Luckily for her, there's a timeout taken by Coach Flannery. The last 10 rebounds. And hits both of them big.
Now they got to play some D.
5 seconds still in this one. No timeouts for either team. McGrory bringing it up. The freshman lets it fly. Oh, just missed. We're doing it again. We're not done yet.
This game will not end.
38 along with Grant.
And I'm sure Terry Mitchell and Doug Bruner are watching this game saying, let it go on, let it go on. No fresh legs for either of these teams tomorrow.
They are up next. That one was supposed to start at 6:30. It'll be pushed back a little bit because of this great matchup between Creighton and St. John's. Red Storm coming in as the 2nd seed. Blue Jays the 3rd seed. And a wide open Janning for 3. It's just not been her day. We'll see how long it takes to score a bucket here in this second overtime, because in the last period, it took more than about 3 minutes or so. Give it to Grant.
Boy, she has been a monster. In the second half, the first overtime, and that's how she starts the second overtime.
And it appears Grant may have poked Sarah Nelson.
Nice pump fake to freeze the defense, and then she sees the quickness advantage as Ncaa tries to come out and defend Denasia Grant, but no problem, gets right to the rack.
But here on the other end, it appears that she was going for the ball and may have inadvertently poked Sarah Nelson in the eye.
And that hurts.
That's huge. Denasia Grant with 4 fouls, or 5. It's 5 fouls. So she scored all of the Red Storm's points in OT. She had 6 points, finishes with 20, and a huge blow for Joe Tartamella.
Especially on that play where it was really, as you said, inadvertent. Didn't mean to get Sarah Nelson in the eye.
A great effort by Grant, and Nelson again bunny hopping it in.
Who's going to step up? Denasia Grant was critical in the overtime period.
And 2 big ones by Nelson.
Creighton's got a nice fan base here. I see all the blue and white, and they have been loud and traveled here to see their Blue Jays.
Most interesting, you know, some of the teams are staying in the same hotel as us, and when I was going back to the hotel, I saw the receiving line for the Blue Jays as they were about to come to the All-State Arena. They had the pep band going and everything. Basketball is big in the Midwest.
I like the way they travel.
If you ever go to a game at DJ Sokol Arena, it's a great place to see a basketball game. From the corner, Fouillon, no good, follows her own shot and is fouled.
And I thought that foul was on the floor. We'll see what the officials say. Ball comes off. Rebound is had there, and good job by Fouillon McKenzie to throw it, Mackenzie Fouillon to throw it right back up at the rim.
So each team in the double bonus, and it's free throws that have separated these two teams. 1 of 3 from the line today for Fouillon. 1 of 4.
Eugenia McPherson is getting ready to check back in the game, and she has been absent in some critical periods. Hopefully she's watched enough to get comfortable, because I think she can be a difference with Denasia Grant checking out.
I was going to say, how difficult is it, though, for a player to come in kind of like a relief pitcher in baseball and just go in almost cold again?
You never know, but I think at this point he has to, because he needs someone to facilitate the offense.
The baseline was open for Brown. The reverse won't go. The putback for Walker does.
Major minutes off the bench.
And you mentioned earlier in this broadcast that Walker has so much potential. Maybe we can see her blossom here in these final 2 minutes of overtime. It's Fouillon going hard. Left hand has worked all day.
Wow. She disappeared for a stretch with her scoring, but I think that last take gave her some confidence when she got to go to the free throw line, and now she's starting to warm up.
Speaking of cooling off, it's the first field goal since the first half, and Amber Thompson rolls that one around. She too has been quiet. So now these two teams are just trading buckets.
Not as much isolation now that Denasia Grant and Sarah Nelson matchup has disappeared.
Hanford coming back the other way. Wisely slows it down. Red Storm with a 1-point lead. And McPherson has been sitting at the table. She's getting a big smile out of it because she's wondering, will I get a chance to get in? Hanford, the wild shot of Ncaa again coming up big with the block.
Wow, she's played great defense.
So what was a low-scoring affair in the first overtime, we've seen 5 lead changes here in this second overtime.
And they're going to call a foul on the screen. Ncaa.
Tough call.
Keep playing. Extend it.
Because in all actuality, this is the last game for one of these teams. And it was Langley who came up with the big bucket at the end of regulation to extend it to our first overtime session.
Creighton really coming with pressure, hoping to get a turnover, but instead they are forced to foul.
But maybe a good foul there if there is one, because Hanford is 3 of 8 from the line today.
Ncaa Grant stepped up. Now the pressure's on.
So the graphic says it all. No more jinxing, but as soon as you call something up, usually the opposite happens. So, mate.
But you're not safe at all because Creighton can get a 3 very easily.
Well, that free throw extends it to 3, the lead for the Red Storm, but Creighton still has a timeout, and they spend it here. Their final timeout. And you see Grant. Don't you like what you see out of her running to her players? Hey, I fouled out. I've given all I've gotten. Now I need to try to help will you guys to victory.
Yeah, you can still have my energy, even though I can't get out there and physically score points. And this is going to be interesting in how Joe Tarnamella approaches this defensive possession, because you don't want to give up a 3, but you don't want your players running out on the three-point line so hard that they foul, and Creighton gets the 3 plus an opportunity for a free throw.
Well, the idea is what? Do you foul? Do you let them take the 3?
It's tough. If you can foul, obviously, yes, that would be an option. But I've seen crazy things happen where you foul at the wrong time. Like I said, if it's outside the three-point line and it magically goes in.
Back to Fouillon. Fouillon, no good. Ncaa going for the rebound. And McGrory called for the personal foul.
St. John's has got to be careful here because they do get to go to the free throw line, but there's also some time left on the clock, and that's great look. Couldn't have drawn it up any better than that.
That's the look you want if you're Mackenzie Fouillon. Ncaa goes to the bench. She fouls out. So Creighton is 6 of 25 from beyond the arc.
Mackenzie Fouillon hadn't hit a 3 this afternoon.
And so now when we talked about their free throw shooting all day long, they've made their last 5 make it 6 attempts.
They only know how to make them under pressure, Tiffany. What can I say?
So Janning heaves it up, and that's ball game. The St. John's Red Storm is heading to the Big East Championship game, but a great effort and a great ball game from the Creighton Blue Jays. It's Red Storm